This episode of Profiles in Risk is sponsored by Zywave. Insurers, brokers, and agencies are facing escalating risk and rising complexity. Only Zywave delivers a performance multiplier, equipping you with the tools to get risk right, unlock efficiency, and scale at new speeds. Find out more at 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝘀.com.
Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, on the road from Prague today. And today we have with us Liam Harreys, co-founder and CEO at ThreadWise. Liam, thank you for joining me today. How's it going?
Thanks for having me. Long-time listener, first-time caller. So honored to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Great. My pleasure. I'm doing very, very well. You are my first recording after a week of vacation in Egypt, which was awesome. And very, very, very hot. Prague, it's nice and fall, so not very hot, which I'm very, very thankful about. The food's delicious too. So that does mean I'm recording a podcast at 8 and 9 p.m. local time, but such is life. All right. So according to LinkedIn, you're in San Francisco. Late September in San Francisco. We're recording September 23rd. So I'm guessing sweater weather, but nice.
One might assume it's actually might break the record for hottest day of the year in San Francisco, I think, only because they had a very cool summer, uncharacteristically cool. But yeah, mid to high 80s is the 80s high today. Yeah,
80s in San Francisco is crazy, especially when people generally don't have AC.
Very true. Very true.
Horrific. Yeah. So we lived in Berkeley for a year, so I'm very familiar with the San Francisco area. 80s, awful.
Yeah, it's tough. It's all right. We got the windows open, and I'm actually in Kensington, just north of Berkeley. So yeah, similar neck of the woods.
Okay, awesome. So we always give the guests a chance to give the elevator pitch. What is ThreadWise?
Sure. We are the commercial co-pilot for commercial insurance communications, starting with email, right? So commercial brokers' work is very complex. We believe their tools shouldn't have to be, right? And so our sort of thesis is based on a lot of experiences, successes, and sort of failures or lessons within the insurtech industry. And one thing that we've learned is, brokers touch, especially commercial brokers touch sometimes dozens of systems, right, to just get through a single workflow or just even to service a policy lifecycle. And so any system that you're bringing in should either be making 3 systems 2, or just, making the 10, 20 systems you have feel like a handful, right? And so we're really starting from that first principles, perspective. And we realize that brokers, they're sort of in this swivel chair position, right? They're talking to their insureds, their clients, they're trying to build relationships. They're talking to underwriters, wholesalers, MGAs, people assuming the risk, and then sort of swivel chairing back around, taking all the data they've gleaned from those conversations and entering it into all these different systems, right? All those systems kind of serve different masters, if you will. Some are sort of client facing, some are internally facing, some are internally facing specific to accounting versus to lead gen, to account management. Others are carrier facing, right? And so that's sort of, I think, the reason why the workflow is so fragmented, in our experience at least. And so we try to clean the data up before it ever gets dirty, if you will. There's a lot of solutions out there to clean the data. And we realized around broker communications is where that really happens, right? So our whole sort of thesis there is allow brokers to do the work they were licensed to do and let us handle the rest, right? And so we're starting an email because that is, frankly, the scariest, dirtiest data set in the world. It's also the most valuable. Right. There's a ton of sort of semantic insights that you can glean in terms of which insureds, maybe potential targets for churn or could be upsold or cross-sold against. The biggest use case that we're seeing right now is with the submission workflow. Right. And so your carrier appetite guides only tell you so much, but your email tells you across your brokerage which underwriters are actually accepting or rejecting a certain line of business, right, based on certain market conditions, right? So what we do is we sort of synthesize all the data across those emails and then tell a broker, one, where the best place to send a certain type of risk might be based on, actual exceptions and rejections in the market across your brokerage. And then we help you fill out those applications, right? You should never have to fill out an Accord from scratch again. You should never have to fill out a carrier supplemental ever again from scratch. A lot of those things are just a waste of your time, right? Just entering the same address, the same replacement costs, the same named insureds, additional insureds, whatever. We aim to take that off your plate, right? Basically helping brokers move at the speed of the market. So yeah, that's our thesis.
All right. So currently, does it sit on top of Outlook, or is it more a like superhuman type tool that completely replaces your Outlook?
So it sits on top of Outlook or Gmail. We can work with either. And that's exactly it. Another sort of learning we have is, again, brokers touch all these systems. They don't want an upteenth system they have to go look at, right? And so we're basically just a data processing layer that sits around your email. And there's just a browser extension, really, that you use, right? So your workflow stays the same. You can go use all the tools that you know and love, or maybe don't love so much, but now you can use them to the highest degree possible, make them work for you, right? So it's really just a browser extension that you can talk to and say, hey, fill out this form on my behalf, or hey, what's the replacement cost, or what's the data point, what's the property value for this location, right? So you don't have to go on fact-finding missions anymore. And you have this, again, analytical tool that synthesizes data across all your brokers, right? So all this technology and all this power is just really manifested through this very simple browser extension.
Okay, and when you say talk to, you mean natural language?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, so basically, if I'm understanding correctly, so it kind of gives me the ability to talk to Outlook and, hey, go find me this.
Correct.
Prepare this for submission to, or hey, which carrier should I submit this to based on what we've seen?
Yeah. So another way to think about it, there's a lot of these sort of like email secretaries or email co-pilot agents that are sort of like general purpose that are coming out these days. So a good comparison for us is them, except industry specific. We're built for insurance. We're built with a data extraction model that inherently understands and works for the insurance ecosystem, right? So it's coming out of the box, understanding, that you're where you sit, right, in the workflow. And that gives us a good advantage to actually have insurance specific workflows on top of it, right? So it's sitting on top of your email. You can answer questions like you just brought up, but you can also have it start to do basic workflows on your behalf, starting with filling out applications. That's what all our pilot customers are like. We hate doing this, right? It's a constant problem in insurance of like, I don't want to fill out the same information into 10 supplementals again and again and again, right? So we're starting with that, but there's also like commission sales reports get emailed to you. We can compare those as well. Carrier appetite guides get emailed to you. We can start to synthesize that information, right? So there's just all these little workflows that touch the email. And what we're seeing is we're seeing the rest of the tech stack sort of take off in insurance, and the broker is still left behind, especially in commercial insurance, which is why we're starting there, with the communication tools of yesteryear, right? And so the goal here is to help the broker move at the speed of the market. So one, they can take advantage of and ask questions of their email, but two, start to send the information or get it into formats automatically that can then move at the speed of the rest of their tech stack, where companies that are solving accounting problems or even point solutions with document comparison, whatever, all super valuable solutions, but there's still the broker sitting between them, right? The goal here is to make the broker feel comfortable moving at the speed of that tech stack. So,
okay. So normally I ask about implementation. In this case, being a broker add-on, implementation should be pretty immediate. It doesn't need API access to all my stuff.
Correct. It does not need it, but we are adding it, right? So
Okay.
the short term, you'll be able to go live with ThreadWise. We're in a sort of a pilot phase right now, and we're welcoming more people into it on an interested basis. And we're going to go live in the next sort of probably 2 months or so, probably after I see you at ITC, actually. You're exactly right. The idea is go live in 3 clicks, right? So you implement on top of your Outlook. We go through a processing period, and then we tell you sort of a synopsis of the last year and then what you have coming up that's important. And then it moves forward in real time, right? So you now have this sort of partner that's been empowered by all your communication information and knows your clients and relationships and marketing relationships as well as you do in minutes, right? That's the other pain point we've heard is, great, this technology looks great, but it's going to take me months or years to implement, if at all, right? We want to completely flip that on its head. And if anything, be a partner. Our goal is not to silo data. Our goal is to give you the most actionable data set possible that frankly you've never had before. We're giving you access to, real-time underwriting information that's, in our opinion, never really been tapped into, at least on a real-time basis, in terms of what's being accepted, rejected, commission rates, et cetera. So the idea is to make your tech stack work at the degree that it was always supposed to, right? There's been a lot of promises made by InsurTech the last couple of decades, and I think through no one's fault specifically, I think we've just underdelivered, and I think the opportunity now is here to sort of really unlock that value, right? So, yeah, the idea is go live in minutes.
All right. Are you aiming at what type of commercial lines? But are you foreseeing your what's the terminology? Your ideal client as the middle-sized brokers, the big national brokers, or anybody that does commercial lines? What kind of the target market that you're really targeting?
Yeah, so the ideal customer profile, if you will. Yeah, so broadly, I think any insurance professional will benefit from this tool in the future. Email's not going anywhere in the next decade, and these tools are accelerating all around us. The idea is to make insurance professionals' emails work at the speed of their tech stack. That being said, we're starting with the people who we feel at least are most acutely affected by this in the short term, and that's independent, commercial, mid-market insurance brokerages, especially ones who have done at least one acquisition, right? So usually there's some sort of change management issue there, right? Maybe you haven't gotten everybody to switch over to a certain tool, or maybe they're still stuck on some other AMS or some other CRM, even if they have switched AMSs. And there's just some workflow opacity, if you will, right? And we can out of the box unlock that, right? So the idea here too is, one, not just to streamline the workflow, but then give you the ability to have everybody work at the degree of your best producer, account manager, whatever. What do they do well? What does that veteran broker do? And then be able to disseminate that across your organization in a very intuitive manner, right? Just in that browser extension. And then also on the flip side, maybe some people are new to the industry, training or dropping the ball on certain things. You can now get ahead of that, right? Instead of it festering for a couple months and them realizing, oh, I've just been pushing this under the rug because I didn't really know how to handle it. You can now give them the help they need, right? So there's a sort of helping everyone work at their most optimal sort of level in a very intuitive way, right? Not making them learn a whole new system, just sort of taking the best of what is there and making sure everybody has use of it.
The acquisition comment is very interesting because just about everybody has gone through acquisitions, and they're incredibly hard to fully integrate. Often you find years and years later, and we still have disparate systems. So it kind of sounds like you're saying the messier your stack has become, the more that we can benefit you.
Give us your hardest problems. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, I think
that's the
yeah.
All right. What is the pricing philosophy?
Yeah, so for our core module, we take a flat rate approach. For the workflows we built on top of it, there becomes a volume-based approach, right? A usage-based approach, right? So for this core email triage and response tool, you have a flat rate based on your book size, right? So we'll come in and talk to you. It usually works out to about $150 per user per month. And then the form volume side, usually it's sort of priced on, again, back towards your number of policies, number of renewals you're processing, but we can get that within a certain rate as well that we discuss based on, again, complexity of risk you're working with. If you're like very specifically into professional lines, we can look at what renewals you're processing there, what forms you're commonly processing, what even carrier portals you're normally looking at, starting to look at the size of those, and then we can price accurately. But it has to be more so towards usage pricing because there's just so much variability there. But it becomes very clear whatever price it ends up tying to is far cheaper than a lot of the solutions people have had in the past. So that usage-based pricing has actually been very digestible to people, especially when you have that sort of flat rate understanding of, okay, the bulk of the cost here will be with the sort of the per seat model, and the value I'm getting from that, would have far outpaced other solutions if I had gone with some sort of outsourced offering or even some other larger tech stack that I have to manually migrate data to. They intuitively understand that, oh, this will be a lot cheaper for me, even in the short term.
Okay. So talk about implementation, we talked about pricing. Origin story. How did you realize that this was a need within commercial insurance and that you were the right people to jump on it?
Yeah, wonderful question. So at a previous insurtech, I was onboarding at this point in my career at that insurtech, I was customer success manager, and we were onboarding some users with a new agency. And as you know, if you didn't have an AMS integration, it's very manual. Let's go get your policies in there. Let's create your insureds accounts in the CRM, et cetera. And the user specifically that I was working with kept going back to their email, or they kept sort of on the Zoom call we were on shouting, "Hey, so-and-so, can you email me that SOV, or can you send me that most recent certificate or whatever from so-and-so?" And we're like, why are we even bothering trying to integrate with the AMS when it sounds like everything's in the email, right? And so we sort of built this email integration and started to look at ways to start to capture that communication avenue. And there's this other workflow that we're really excited about that sort of transitions into where we're going as ThreadWise, as well as this activity tracking sort of time loss that everybody, at least in commercial insurance specifically, spends a huge chunk of their week on, or even their day rather, right? So every time they send an email or do a task in the submission, they have to go back, create the activity in the AMS, copy the data over, copy the attachments over. This is what I did. Just duplicating the time it takes to do everything. And we can automate that basically completely out of the box and then in real time moving forward, right? So we build you this perfect audit trail around your communications. And so that notion of realizing how valuable the email data set was led us to believe, one, this is the right place to start with the solution. And then two, the other thing we were doing, I think a little bit incorrectly, was trying to build this really big solution that solved a lot of problems. It was sort of, I think a lot of insurtechs make this mistake, and I know because I did this too, where you go, "Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Broker, your workflow is so broken. Guess what? I have something that can solve all your problems. All you have to do is change everything about the way you do your work," right? It's an untenable, thing to ask of someone, especially when your business is doing the equivalent of 90 in the left lane. You can't switch the transmission out, right? It's a ridiculous request. There's a ton of change management to do. Not to mention adoption. The integration can go perfectly. If people don't know how to use it, it doesn't matter, right? So the idea is to attack the right data set with the right tools and make it truly intuitive and accessible to everybody, regardless of skill level, right? Upskill the novices and democratize the knowledge of the veterans.
Upskill the novices, democratize the knowledge of the veterans without radical changes to your processes, and with quick integration, and then little by little we'll build more pieces to it.
Exactly, and integrate with the partners that you want to work with, right? And so by creating the source of truth around your communications, right, you're sort of letting your technology actually work for you instead of just being this massive email repository of things you can't search through and find anything. With us, it's actually doing work on your behalf. And if anything, it's actually setting you up. It's future-proofing your agency, right? We're putting you in a position where you can now switch between whatever technology you want to try in days, instead of going through a month's RFP process and trying to set up security protocols. We have this basically perfectly flexible source of truth upstream from everything that knows your, again, clients, underwriters, wholesale brokers, MGAs, all those relationships, and all the coverages, assets within the bounds of a chronological timeline that can be integrated with anything, right? So you can try that new AI tool that came out that purports to do a certain thing in a siloed environment, and try it in minutes. If it works, great. Then you can move forward with a larger plan with them. If it doesn't work, now you have to waste months of time and however many thousands of dollars, right? So the idea here is to just kind of future-proof your agency in whatever direction this AI boom goes. If it plateaus today, fine. You now have a tool that can work within it. If it continues to accelerate, you have the perfect layer to democratize the access of whatever tool you want to implement across your agency in the most intuitive way possible.
All right. So it all came from the realization that it all comes in via email, which is true.
It really does. And honestly, the more complex risk gets, the more manual the workflow gets, and the more it falls to the email. That's the other reason we focus on commercial risk. So we do actually have people in our in our pilot program who have a more personal than commercial split of their book, who still see a lot of value. But that being said, I think just as a rule, right, the more complex risk is inherently going to be in the email. And besides email, what's not going to change in the next 10 years? A CFO is still going to want to talk to an insurance advisor about expanding into a new market, about the potential for a claim, about a claim, right? About whatever their risk management, needs are. They're going to want to talk to a human. And so we're just basically giving that human the best tool possible to quantify this ever-changing world of risks and technologies and tools that are being thrown at them, right? So, yeah.
All right. How many agencies on the beta test?
Yeah, so we've got 12 agencies on the beta test. Still happy to accept more users, but I think trying to target a wider launch in the next 2 months where you can have this sort of, again, 3-click sign-up flow. And really excited to get that in everybody's hands and see what impact it can make. But I've all 12 of our current pilot customers fit that independent commercial mid-market, very specific sort of ICP, if you will, customer profile. And we're trying to be really disciplined about that. We've actually not worked with a couple agencies just because they are skewed more towards a specific, line of business, or more like they're 100% personal. And while we can help with that, it's just like, again, a stronger use case, frankly, with commercial. And so our goal in the future is to service, again, any insurance professional, regardless of where you sit in a brokerage, whether you're a one-person shop doing just personal lines or life or health, whatever, or just, the massive brokerages of the world who have, again, just a ton of information sharing that could be possible, or they currently have a lot of information siloing that's happening. And so we can help unlock that, right? So our core use case really seems to be with that commercial strata, if you will. And so being really disciplined about starting there, I think will pay off in the future.
All right. And you guys launched just this year, right? Going on about 6-7 months?
We are hitting our 6-month anniversary next week, being an incorporated company. So yeah, we're fairly young, and that's kind of the beauty of the technology at our disposal. At our disposal today, you're able to move much quicker than you were in the past, and iterate that much quicker, right? So we've been so lucky to have the design partners that we do, and being able to learn from them and learn from their workflows has been invaluable. So. Yeah.
Fantastic. So ITC 2025 is the big launch party?
I guess so. Informally, I think I had the opportunity to go. Only recently was that scheduled, but so we don't have a booth or anything. But I'll be on the floor walking around, talking to people. Yeah.
Fantastic! Congratulations on the launch. And it makes intuitive sense to me. I wasn't a broker. I was an underwriter. My girlfriend was on the brokerage side, and in both of our lives, email rules. And I was lucky. I had one system basically, or for the most part, right? Well, she had all sorts of platforms and portals and a whole bunch of carriers she dealt with. So yeah, totally makes sense to me. Awesome, Liam. Thank you so much for your time today. Look forward to have you back in a year or two to hear how things have matured. Look forward to seeing you at ITC.
Happy to. Yeah, looking forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much for your time.
Awesome. Thank you.